I am the vine, you are the branches. I always remember a meal I had in Israel over 40 years ago. We were going to the ancient site of Megiddo and had stopped off for lunch in a small village. We ate on a veranda of a roadside taverna. The tables and the benches we sat on were wooden and reminded me of school dinners, and they were protected from the hot sun by the roof terrace, which was covered by vines. The sun made shifting, dappled patterns on the tables and on us as it filtered through gaps in the thick vine leaves above us, which were trying their best to keep us cool. I can't remember what we ate for the first course, but I can remember what we had for our second course. The waiter put a large earthenware bowl in the middle of the table, stood on a chair, and taking a sharp knife cut down bunches of grapes which he put into the bowls. Then slabs of cheese and hunks of bread were also placed on the table. A very simple meal which I've never forgotten. Vines grow everywhere in Israel as they do throughout the Mediterranean. It's no wonder that wine is such an ancient drink and still enjoyed by millions today. In order to get the best grapes, the vines need to be well tended. The ground has to be prepared carefully, and weeds have to be removed and the earth fertilized. The branches of the vines need to be carefully pruned, and at the end of each season the vines need cutting back. All this has to be done in order for the grapes to grow and become sweet before being harvested to eat, or to be made into the wine we drink. We live in a fast world, a world of instant responses, where instant results are demanded and where instant change is very often required. In being insistent on things being immediate, we very often tend to ignore the weeds which can clog up our lives and often result in a poor environment for growth, which calls at times an expectation of growth without putting in the effort needed. In order for a vine to produce good fruit, it has to be cared for. In order for us to grow, we too need to be tended and to tend to our lives. I think that as the pace of modern life gets quicker, that we're in danger of losing many things which are important to us as human beings, such as time for reflection, for silence and thinking, time to grow, time to make mistakes, time to learn, and a time to commit ourselves to those things which really matter, the things that we may only realize matter when perhaps it is too late. Most things need time in which to grow, time to mature. I think the belief and faith are like this. Sometimes things are immediate. There are those who are able to tell you the exact moment that they came to believe, a turning point in their lives, a road to Damascus moment, when suddenly things became quite clear to them. However, others have taken time to develop their faith. Perhaps they've grown up going to church or in knowing about God. Their faith has come like a dawning of the day, slowly, gradually, like the rising sun. Whichever way people come to explore their faith, both need time to mature and to grow, and also a place to grow in. Jesus describes himself as the vine and us as its branches. We're not separate from him, for as branches we need him in order to develop and to bear fruit. It takes time for fruit to grow. But if we let Christ live in us, we will abide in him. His life will flow in us and through us. We become a part of the vine, part of the body, the being of Christ. When we meet in church and join together in Holy Communion, when we share the bread and the wine, we become closer to Jesus Christ. I believe, no, actually, that's wrong. I know that God finds ways of giving his spirit of love to all people. When we come together to share simple bread and wine, we make a commitment to sharing the love of our God for his world and for his people. We become a part of the branches of the vine. There once lived a rich man whose only wish was to make things better for the people around him. He noticed a carpenter who was struggling to feed and keep his family. He felt compassion for the family. He went to the carpenter and said, "I'm going away. I want you to build me a house whilst I'm on my travels. Spare no expense. Make it the most beautiful house in the world. Employ the best craftsmen you can and have it ready for me when I return." The carpenter was delighted with his newfound employment, and he set about building the house. But instead of using the best materials and the most skilled workforce, he cut corners, and by so doing was able to make money for himself. When the house was completed, it looked absolutely beautiful on the outside. However, the carpenter knew that the roof would eventually leak and the bricks crumble. He had not used the best materials, neither had he employed the most skilled workmen. When the rich man returned from his travels, he came to look at the house. "I've used the best materials and the finest workforce to create your house," said the carpenter. "Thank you. I'm delighted to hear it," replied the rich man. "Here are the keys to the house. It is a gift for you and your family. May it serve you well for the rest of your life." In the years that followed, the carpenter could often be heard muttering under his breath, "If only I had known, if only I had known that the house was meant for me." The bread and the wine we share is a reminder that God is with us and in us, and we should try and make the time in our very busy lives to remember that, and to give thanks for it, and to give time to God, and in so doing help the branches of our faith strengthen, just as Jesus intended it should, when he declared all those long years ago that truth, which was and is for all time: "I am the vine, and you are the branches."